All right, let's get into this. I want you to think about your body for a second, but not in the way you usually do. Imagine it's the most advanced, most sophisticated factory on the entire planet. It's running 24/7, building everything you need to live. And today, we're going to take an exclusive tour of one of its most incredible production lines, the one that builds fat.
You know the feeling, right? You eat a cookie, maybe a little too much pasta, and you know what could happen. But have you ever really truly stopped to think about how it works? I mean, how does your body literally turn the sugar in that cookie into actual body fat? Let's follow that cookie on its journey.
Well, here's the thing. It's not some kind of vague biological magic trick. Nope. It is a highly organized, incredibly precise, step-by-step molecular assembly line. It's happening inside your cells right now with an efficiency that would make any factory manager jealous. So let's start our tour where all good factory tours begin, the receiving dock. Where are the raw materials for all this fat production even coming from? The answer is probably not what you think.
It turns out our cellular factory is running two completely separate major product lines for lipids. On one side, you've got the fatty acid lipids. These are the workhorses, right? They're the building blocks for energy storage and for the walls of your cells. Then, on the other side, you have the isoprenoid lipids. This is the fancy stuff, the basis for crucial molecules like steroids and cholesterol. Totally different shapes, totally different jobs.
And here is the absolute craziest part. Even though those two product lines are wildly different, they both start from the exact same raw material, a tiny, simple, two-carbon molecule called acetyl-CoA. That's right. The fat you store for energy and the cholesterol your body needs to function, they both begin their life as this one single universal Lego brick. Okay, so now that we know what we're working with, let's move from the receiving dock onto the factory floor itself. This is where the real action happens. This is the assembly line.
And I want to introduce you to the star of the show. It's called the fatty acid synthase complex. Now, don't think of this as a bunch of separate tools. Imagine it as one single, massive, all-in-one molecular machine. It's this beautiful, integrated unit that's designed to do one thing and one thing only: build fats, piece by tiny piece.
So how does this incredible machine work? It just runs a simple, elegant four-step cycle over and over again. Step 1, condensation. A new two-carbon piece gets snapped on. Step 2, reduction. A little chemical tweak, a little jolt of energy to make the connection. Step 3, dehydration. A water molecule gets popped off to tighten things up. And finally, a second reduction. One last tweak to create a super stable link. Add, tweak, dry, and lock. It's like a little molecular rhythm. And this process is unbelievably precise. That four-step cycle, the assembly line runs it exactly 7 times. Not 6, not 8, 7 times. And each time, it adds 2 more carbons, methodically growing the chain until, bam, it's done. The factory's standard product is finished, a perfect 16-carbon fatty acid. So, just to recap what we need to get this assembly line humming, you need 3 things, that's it. You need your raw materials, those little activated acetyl-CoA units. You need a power source, those energy molecules called NADPH. And of course, you need the machinery itself, that amazing fatty acid synthase complex. With those 3 things, the factory is officially open for business. But, you know, our factory doesn't just mass-produce one standard, boring model. No way. Let's move along to the customization department and see how this basic product gets turned into all kinds of specialty fats. So that 16-carbon fatty acid we just built, think of it as the base model car that just rolled off the main assembly line. It's great, but it's not done. After it's made, other specialized enzymes can come in and make it longer, or they can add kinks in the chain to create all sorts of customized versions for different jobs around the body. But here's where we hit a really critical limitation. Our body's toolkit, it's pretty good, but it's not perfect. We have the tools to make saturated fats, the straight ones, and monounsaturated fats, which have just one little kink. But for fats with multiple kinks, the polyunsaturated ones, we just don't have the right machinery. For those, we have to rely on the toolkits found in plants and algae. And that brings us to a term I'm sure you've heard a million times: essential fatty acids. You know, omega-3s and omega-6s. The reason they're called essential is precisely this: our internal factory cannot produce them. It's not a choice. We absolutely have to get them from our food, from things like fish, nuts, seeds, and certain oils. So why is this such a big deal? Well, there's this really powerful theory out there that our own evolution, specifically the incredible growth of our large, complex brains, was only really possible once early humans started getting access to seafood, which is super rich in these exact essential fatty acids. Just think about that for a second. The food we ate may have literally built the very minds that we are using to think about this right now.
Okay, so we've successfully manufactured all the component parts. Now it's time for the final assembly stage, where these individual fatty acids get built into larger, more complex functional structures. And you know what? The final assembly is actually pretty simple. It all starts with a little 3-carbon backbone molecule called glycerol. To that, the cell attaches 2 of those fatty acid chains we just made. You can picture them like 2 arms. But the really critical choice comes down to the third and final slot. What gets attached there determines the entire purpose of the finished product.
And really, there are 2 main fates here, 2 paths it can take. Path number 1, if you attach a third fatty acid in that last spot, you get a triglyceride. That's your long-term energy storage. That's what we call body fat. But if you attach a phosphate group instead, you get something completely different, a phospholipid. And these guys are the primary building blocks for every single cell membrane in your body. So let's just step back and appreciate the whole journey. We started with this humble, simple 2-carbon molecule, acetyl-CoA. And from that one tiny starter piece, our cellular factory ran an elegant assembly line, customized the parts, and then built everything from our long-term energy reserves to the very fabric that holds our cells together. It is an absolutely incredible process.
And all of this leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. We just saw how access to specific, essential fats in our ancestral diet may have been what literally built the modern human brain. So it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What exactly is our modern diet with its totally different profile of fats? What is it building inside of us today?